Sometimes heroes don't ride in with capes. They ride in on steel and chrome, and on that night, when a frightened young cashier faced a group of thugs alone, she had no idea that an unlikely force for justice was standing just a few steps behind her. People often form opinions within seconds, relying on what they see rather than what they know. Clothing, body language, tattoos, or hairstyles become instant indicators of character, even though none of these things truly represent a person's values or intentions. The incident inside the convenience store highlights how unreliable and unfair these assumptions can be, especially when appearances overshadow reality. The young cashier had likely noticed the bikers earlier in the evening. With their heavy leather jackets, patches, long beards, and imposing presence, they might have seemed intimidating at first glance. Society tends to associate such appearances with danger, rebellion, or aggression. This stereotype is so common that many people automatically assume bikers are troublemakers, yet the reality that unfolded that night proved the complete opposite. While the bikers were simply browsing and minding their own business, the real threat entered quietly and unexpectedly. The thugs who slipped in after closing did not fit the dramatic, dangerous stereotype people imagine. They didn't have loud engines or matching jackets. They didn't stand out. Their danger came from intention, not appearance. They acted aggressively, cornered the cashier, and used intimidation, not because of how they looked, but because of the choices they made. This contrast is powerful. The people who looked intimidating were the ones with honor, discipline, and compassion. The ones who looked ordinary were the true source of danger. It shows how misleading outward appearances can be, and how important it is to look deeper. When the bikers stepped in to protect the cashier, their actions revealed their true nature: loyal, protective, and morally grounded. Their appearance might have created fear, but their behavior created safety. This moment serves as a reminder that character is revealed through actions, not assumptions, and that judging someone based solely on looks can cause us to misunderstand who they truly are. Courage is not always loud, dramatic, or obvious. It often appears in the moments when fear is strongest, and choices must be made quickly. On the night of the incident, courage revealed itself in subtle yet powerful ways. Through a trembling voice, a protective instinct, and a willingness to step forward when danger was near. The young cashier did not enter her shift expecting to face a threatening situation. She was simply doing her job, preparing to close the store for the night. When the thugs slipped inside after hours, her body reacted with fear, her pulse quickened, her hands shook, and her thoughts raced. Yet despite the panic rising inside her, she tried to stay calm and composed. She spoke carefully, avoided escalating tension, and attempted to manage the situation as best she could. That quiet determination in the face of fear is a form of courage many overlook. At the same time, the bikers in the back of the store did not plan on becoming protectors that night. They were simply finishing their purchases, unaware of the danger brewing a few steps away. But when they heard the cashier's nervous tone and sensed the threat, something internal shifted. They didn't freeze or wait for someone else to intervene. Instead, they stepped forward instinctively, placing themselves between the young woman and the aggressors. This is where true courage reveals itself, in the willingness to act not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. The bikers did not know how the situation would unfold, but they made a choice to stand up for someone who needed help. Their bravery challenged the fear in the room and changed the direction of the moment. Courage often emerges in these critical, unexpected situations, proving that ordinary people can become extraordinary when someone's safety is at stake. A community is not defined only by the buildings, streets, or businesses within it. Its true strength comes from the people who choose to look out for one another. Real safety is created when individuals refuse to ignore the struggles of others and instead step forward to offer support. The incident inside the convenience store demonstrates how powerful community protection can be, especially when someone finds themselves alone and vulnerable. The young cashier was physically by herself that night, responsible for closing the store and ensuring everything was secure. In many situations like this, people assume that danger is unlikely or that someone else will step in if something goes wrong. But when the thugs entered the locked store, that illusion shattered instantly. Her isolation became obvious, In that moment, she needed more than security cameras or emergency buttons. She needed people who were willing to stand with her. This is where the presence of the bikers changed everything. Even though they were strangers to the cashier, their awareness and willingness to act transformed the situation. They didn't hesitate, ask questions, or wait for someone else to take responsibility. Instead, they recognized that community protection means stepping in when someone cannot defend themselves. Their presence alone was enough to shift the power dynamics in the room and prevent the thugs from escalating their aggression. Community protection is not about being a hero. It's about understanding that everyone's safety is connected. When people choose to intervene, they send a clear message that harassment, intimidation, and violence will not be tolerated. It creates an environment where wrongdoers think twice before causing harm, knowing that others will not stay silent. This event illustrates the importance of people watching out for one another, especially in places where individuals may feel vulnerable. When members of a community stand together, they create a safer, stronger environment for everyone. One of the most dangerous things in any society is not just the presence of harmful individuals. It is the silence that allows them to operate freely. Evil does not need a crowd. It only needs a quiet space where no one speaks up, no one intervenes, and no one challenges it. The incident in the convenience store is a clear example of how quickly a situation can escalate when wrongdoers believe no one will oppose them. The thugs who entered the store that night acted with boldness because they assumed they were alone with the cashier. They relied on her fear, her isolation, and the belief that she would not be able to resist them. Their confidence came not from strength, but from the expectation of silence. They counted on the idea that no one would step in, that their threats would go unanswered, and their intimidation would succeed without resistance. It is this kind of unchecked behavior that allows danger to flourish. But the moment the bikers stepped out from the shadows, everything changed. Their presence shattered the silence the thugs depended on. Suddenly, the aggressors were no longer in control. The power they thought they had disappeared the instant someone stood up and confronted them. This shift reveals how fragile evil truly is. It only thrives in the absence of courage, unity, or opposition. When people remain silent, they unintentionally give power to those who intend harm. When bystanders choose not to intervene, even out of fear or uncertainty, it creates an environment where misconduct feels safe and unchallenged. But when someone speaks up or steps forward, that silence is broken, and the space for wrongdoing begins to collapse. This key point underscores a vital truth. Silence protects the wrong side. Speaking up, even in small ways, disrupts the advantage that evil relies on, and transforms a dangerous situation into one where justice has a chance to prevail. Heroes are often imagined as people with badges, uniforms, or special training. But real life proves that heroism can come from anyone, anywhere, and at any moment. The incident inside the convenience store shows how individuals who might be overlooked or misjudged can become the most powerful source of protection when danger arises. The bikers in the store were not expected to intervene. They weren't security guards, police officers, or employees. They were simply customers, yet they became the force that changed everything. What makes their actions so meaningful is how unexpected they were. Society tends to label people based on stereotypes, and bikers are frequently portrayed as rough, aggressive, or even unapproachable. But when the cashier needed help, it was those very individuals, who might normally be avoided or misunderstood, who stepped forward without hesitation. Their sense of loyalty, courage, and justice overpowered any assumptions others might have made about them. This highlights an important truth. Heroism is defined by actions, not appearances. Some of the kindest, strongest, and most honorable people are those who have lived through hardship, who understand what it means to feel vulnerable, and who refuse to let someone else suffer when they can help. Unexpected heroes are often the ones who notice small details, sense danger before others do, and instinctively protect those who cannot protect themselves. At the same time, the people who seemed ordinary in the situation The thugs were the real threat. They blended into the environment, hiding malicious intentions behind a non-threatening appearance. This contrast makes it clear that judging someone's character by how they look can be dangerously misleading. Heroes do not always announce themselves. They can be standing in a grocery aisle, waiting in line at a gas station, or sitting quietly in a corner. And when the moment comes, they reveal their true nature through their willingness to act, protect, and defend someone who needs them. Doing what is right is rarely the easiest choice, especially in moments filled with uncertainty, fear, or danger. It is far simpler to turn away, stay quiet, or convince yourself that the situation is not your problem. Yet true integrity is revealed when someone chooses to act despite the risks involved. The incident inside the convenience store shows how powerful that decision can be, and how one moment of doing the right thing can shift the balance of an entire situation. When the thugs confronted the young cashier, the easier option for the bikers would have been to avoid involvement. They could have quietly slipped out the back or waited for things to settle. No one would have blamed them for prioritizing their own safety. But choosing the safe route would have left the cashier alone to face danger, fear, and potential harm. Instead, the bikers made a conscious decision to stand up, step forward, and place themselves between her and the threat. This willingness to act demonstrates a level of responsibility many people avoid. Standing up for what's right often involves uncertainty. There is no guarantee of how the situation will unfold or what consequences might follow. Yet those who choose to intervene understand something important. Doing nothing is a decision too. Silence, inaction, and avoidance send a message just as loudly as stepping in does. When people fail to act, they unintentionally allow wrongdoing to continue. On the other hand, when individuals show courage and take a stand, it becomes a powerful example for others. It challenges the aggressors, empowers the vulnerable, and reinforces the belief that justice still exists in everyday life. The bikers' actions proved that doing the right thing is not about convenience. It is about moral conviction. Even in risky moments, choosing to defend someone who cannot defend themselves is what defines true character. That night in the store was more than just an act of protection. It was a lesson in humanity. It showed us that heroes can come from the most unexpected places, that courage can rise even in ordinary people, and that standing up for what is right matters more than comfort or convenience. The young cashier's fear was met with bravery, the thug's aggression met with resistance, and the community's silence was replaced with action. We are reminded that appearances can be deceiving, that evil only thrives when good people remain silent, and that every individual has the power to make a difference. Sometimes, protection doesn't come from the authorities or the people we expect. It comes from those who choose to act when others hesitate. Let this story inspire us to look beyond stereotypes, to value courage, and to never underestimate the impact of standing up for someone in need. In a world where fear often lurks in unexpected corners, let us remember that even one person's decision to do the right thing can turn the tide, bring safety, and restore hope. Because true heroism isn't measured by titles or appearances. It's measured by the choices we make when it matters the most.